Welcome, everyone. Today on People from Cleveland Are Dope, I am talking with a couple of Cleveland's notable movers and shakers, Anthony Scott and Carmen Scott. They are recently married, and their dedication to serving the people of Northeast Ohio is exemplary. Carmen M. Scott, Esquire, is a shareholder at Sarringhaus Scott Company, LPA. Her practice areas include estate planning, elder law, Medicaid planning, and asset protection, focusing on issues that impact the aging community and individuals with disabilities. She serves as the president of the Northeast Ohio Hispanic Center for Economic Development. In addition, she serves as an active board member for the Pro Bono Committee of the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, Board of Trustees for the Tools of Our Students' Success, and the retirement communities of Kendall at Oberlin and Kendall, Northeast Ohio. Carmen has received numerous accolades from publications such as Who's Who in Black Cleveland, Crane's Cleveland, and Super Lawyer, among others. Amore Consulting previously recognized Carmen as one of the 100 plus Latinos Cleveland must know. Anthony W. Scott, Esquire, has worked for the city of Cleveland since 2013. In his latest leadership role with the city, Tony presently serves as an assistant director of the the Department of Community Development. He is also the principal member of I.S.I Consulting, LLC, and in that role serves as a small business and nonprofit consultant and attorney. He is a member of the Zeta Omega chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Incorporated. He is also the president of the Zeta Omega Foundation, a 501c3 charitable organization. Additionally, he is on the Board of Trustees of the Black Professional Association of Charitable Foundation. Tony was recently appointed as the Housing Committee Chairman for the Cleveland chapter of the NAACP. Tony's many distinctions include being named Zeta Omega Chapter's Man of the Year, Who's Who in Black Cleveland, and Kaleidoscope Magazine's 40 Under 40, among others. Tony served in the United States Marine Corps for 8 years during Operations Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and many others. Carmen and Tony are from Cleveland and they're dope. Welcome to People from Cleveland Are Dope, and thank you for joining me.
Hey, EJ.
Hello.
Hi. It's so good to see you.
Good to see you.
That was super awkward trying to keep a straight face as you talked about us and as our Morky kept trying to climb into the screen. I don't know if you saw her climbing the screen a moment ago.
Oh,
So she's Bella Rose, she's our Morky, and she's dope also. So she
hi, Bella. But thanks for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So I like to start off by asking what neighborhoods you're from. If you want to keep this consistent, when I ask questions, Carmen, you can choose to answer first, or Tony, you can choose to answer first. It's up to you guys.
Okay.
I'm a gentleman. I defer to Carmen. She's the smartest one of the two of us anyway.
I thought that.
I said it, it's true.
Okay. All right, Carmen, tell us about where you grew up in Cleveland.
So I grew up on the west side of Cleveland. The Denison area was where I spent my last teenage years. But before that, I grew up in the Clark Fulton area, West 50th and Clark area, there on the west side of Cleveland.
And Mr. Scott?
Born in Cleveland, Kingsford, which is off of 153rd in Ward 1. Lived there until the first grade. And then we moved to East Cleveland, and that's where I spent the rest of my my childhood, going to Caledonia, then to Kirk, and then to Shaw before joining the military.
So, where did you like to hang out when you were young?
I'll take that while he thinks of his answer. So I grew up going to, because I grew up in the Clark, Fulton area, Clark Rec was one of my favorite places to hang out at. And then the skating ring on Ridge and Denison. Spent a lot of Friday and Saturday nights going skating right there because it was walkable distance from my house. And that's where the hangout spot was, which I think now it's closed, but that was our main hangout spot.
Everything we used to do was closed.
That's
Used to
fair.
hang out at Random Mall, which is now Amazon. Used to hang out at Severance, which is a strip mall now. Used to also go skating out at Euclid. What was that? USA Skates, I think. So used to skate out there, and then just in the neighborhood, enjoying my fellow wholesome friends.
Okay. So high school and then military for you, Tony, and Carmen. What did you do immediately after high school?
So I attended Myers University for and received my undergrad there for 4 years. Then after that, I took a little leave of absence from school and became a full-time parent to my son. I had him when I was 19, so became a full-time parent for him before then going to law school many years later.
And in between, you were a paralegal, right?
Yes, yes. So parenting and a full-time paralegal and all of that. But from school, I took a little break. I took the scenic route to law school, I think I like to say.
Doesn't matter how you got there, you got there.
That's fair.
I think mine might have been more scenic than you. I graduated in 90, went to the military. And it was 2003 when I finished my undergrad, 2007 when I finished my master's, 2009 when I finished my law degree. So I took a much more lengthier route than you did.
Well, again, it doesn't matter how you got there because everything you did made you who you are today. So
it was in God's plan. It played out presumably how it was supposed to.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So when you were younger, who inspired you? Who did you look up to?
Right.
Tough one.
A live figure or a historical figure or whatever?
Whatever.
Okay. Ladies first.
So, I mean, I think for me, it probably was a lot of my teachers and instructors that kind of were there to pave the way. I think that because for me, I'm first generation and I didn't have those examples in my immediate family to kind of look up to. So people that I met either in school or college were people that I really looked up to. I think that shifted when I had my son, because when, at 19, having a child at 19, that shifts kind of who your why is. And he became the biggest pusher for me to continue to do what I had to do to be successful. But earlier on, I would say it would be the teachers that were in my life, the coaches that were in my life, that were the persons that I really looked up to.
Did you play sports, Carmen?
I did. I played basketball and volleyball were my two major sports. I don't know that I was good at basketball, but I tried it. But I really enjoyed volleyball and actually ended up coaching when I graduated from high school. I went back.
That's awesome.
So I'm sorry, you hear Bella in the background playing with her toy. Hopefully she'll bring it to us and we just won't give it back to her. For me, like Carmen, I was first generation, so I didn't have the academic component in my household. but I definitely looked up to both my grandfather and my uncle as far as their personalities are very much what my personality is now. Never met a stranger, go into the bar, into the restaurant, and like Scotty, and I'm proud to say I'm the next iteration of Scotty. Um, my father had a great work ethic. My stepfather, I should say, didn't appreciate it until later in life because it wasn't always the most. We butted heads, but I appreciated his work ethic because it definitely filtered down into me. And that's it. There's a host of family, friends, be it family you're born with or family that you adopt, that were influential. A wealth of historical figures and just how they carry themselves, the lessons that they gave. Obviously, the creator try to guide some level of moral compass between what's right and what's wrong. So all of those, I try to pick up something from everyone, even from someone negative. You can appreciate what not to do.
What motivated you to become an attorney?
I look at you, I don't know.
Where we're
first.
going consistency.
So for me, I think it was just the personal experiences that I had in my life. When I was growing up, my grandmother lived with us and she came over from Puerto Rico, and she just watching my mom navigate kind of the legal system as far as like getting guardianship for her and being able to make decisions for her, and just navigating the systems themselves, and just saw the need for having representation in that area. That was kind of one of the first times that I was just kind of like, this is what I want to do. But I've always, unlike a lot of folks, I've always wanted to be an attorney. I remember as young as 8 years old telling my grandfather that I was going to be an attorney when I grew up. I'm not sure where that came from, and he looked at me like I'm not sure where that came from either, right? Because it was just unheard of in our family. Culturally, my family is very, very traditional, and it was just kind of like, those aspirations just weren't a thing when we were young. So it was just something that I've always wanted to do, but watching my mom struggle and navigating some of the programs with my grandmother definitely set in my heart that I wanted to be representative of, us and who we are, and helping other people that have, the language barrier. So that's what inspired me to go to law school.
You're so cute.
Sorry.
For me, it didn't. Like Carmen, I wanted to be a lawyer at a young age, but I don't think it was as such a substantive reason as what she advocated. I wanted to be an attorney because it's just one of those things that you saw, and I was fortunate to be around people. Am I able to shout you out on this, EJ, since I've known you forever? Or does that get edited out? Okay.
No, I won't edit it out because,
Okay.
you know.
Well, because you were around during those earlier years. We all had some of the same aspirations, and by God's grace, most of us have been able to hit those targets that we wanted to, although the targets look different than what we thought they were going to be. But at that young age, it was something that I thought I wanted to be, but just life got in the way, and in fairness, didn't have the same faith in myself as time went on. So fast forward later in life, 2003, 2004, finished the undergrad, was just working at Enterprise at the time, actually, and not really fulfilling any real grand calling. So I started reassessing what I really wanted to do with my life, and applied to law school. Unfortunately, did not get in the first time. I applied to 3 schools, and I had applied late with what was a modest GPA at the time period. It was like 2005, 2004. And that was at a period of time when people were going back, getting graduate degrees, getting doctoral degrees for fear of the economics. Our whole economic system was changing. It was the start of a recession. So people were going out getting credentials. So it was harder to get in. So did not get in, was miserable for like 3 days, ate pizza, didn't shower, didn't shave, played Sega Genesis, and then on that third day kind of got myself together. I don't think anybody even had to check me. I checked myself, cleaned up my house, which was disgusting at the time, and then went to apply to grad school. Applied undecided at the Levin College of Urban Affairs to start working on my master's of public administration. And then fast forward, as soon as the applications started opening up, I said I was going to apply to one school and one school only. One of the Marine Corps mottos is one shot, one kill. So if I didn't get it in that first shot, then it wasn't meant to be. But it was a much more attractive application at that point. My GPA was high in grad school, credentials were better. So it worked out. It worked out. But kind of getting back to the motivation is like, I just wanted to feel like I was doing more. We were at a period of time, and we still unfortunately are, where people of color still have not reached the zenith that we should. Yeah, there's more opportunity, but some people naively believe we've made it, and we haven't. It's still a very aggressive work in progress. We still have large segments of the community that are not able to be successful or not able to thrive for whatever reason. So I just knew that being an attorney would put me in a better position to be of some level of change, some level of purpose, be it in the life of one, be it five, be it, I don't know. So my story isn't finished, so I don't know what that number will look like. So yeah, that was it.
Okay. So Carmen, tell me about what you're doing now in your law practice.
So, as you mentioned earlier in the bio, I'm a shareholder at Sarringhaus Scott. That was as of January 1st of this year, a decision that I made to join another firm and become an equity owner in it, right? And so that's what I'm doing now, still in the estate planning and elder law arena. A lot of Medicaid planning and asset protection work I do in that with the firm. It's allowed me, though, to do what I really am passionate about, which is give back to the community, be philanthropic, and use my talent and my skill set to become front and center and give back to my neighborhood and the people that I want to give back to and touch, right? And so it allows me to have a better work-life balance, if there is such a thing, more than I had before. And then just feeling like I have the autonomy to, again, pick and choose what I want to do, how I want to dedicate my time, how do I present myself to my community, how I become a resource, a bit bigger and better resource to my community. And so that's what I'm doing now, along with serving on the various boards, as you said earlier. I chair the Hispanic Business Center board and sit on the pro bono committee for legal aid, and those keep me pretty busy. I also sit on the board for Kendra Oberlin, which is a long-term care continuum in Oberlin, and that keeps me pretty busy. But it's ways of presenting myself in the community to further the passion that I have inside of me, that it's outside of the law. And I love every part of it. I would say that if I could survive on my civic service financially, I would do that 100% of the time. But you know, the lights have to stay on. So being an attorney does that part of it.
And tell us a little bit about Central Via 25.
Yeah, so Centro Villa 25 is this repurposing of a warehouse in the Clark Fulton area that is going to house about 32,000 square feet of innovative business center, about 20 kiosks for retails for entrepreneurs. It'll have in there a commercial kitchen, It's going to also have a co-space for offices for Latino organizations and organizations that serve the community. It'll also have a community gathering space in the outside space and a market and a restaurant. And the idea behind that is really to be a catalyst for economic development in our community, in our backyards, to be able to then give jobs to the people that live in that community and to address the food desert that's in that community and really bring together economic development and the Latino culture. Right. So it's been 10 years in the making, and a $14+ million capital campaign later, we broke ground about 6 months ago and expect to have at least the first phase of it complete by the end of summer. So we are super excited about it. And the board and the executive director for the Hispanic Business Center and the whole Hispanic Business Center team has been great in pushing this forward. And the community itself, I think we all saw the need. And so movers and shakers in the community have come together to create this great thing that's going to be right in our backyards. And specifically, selfishly for me, in the area that I grew up in. So it's kind of great to see that everyone has been involved and played a part in making this a reality. So super exciting stuff happening.
That is very exciting. It's a beautiful endeavor to be a part of. So
it is. And I really like the fact that, you know, this small organization that started off with 6 employees and the best board in the world, and it's shifted over time. I mean, there's been a lot of people that have come on and off the board since infancy. Don't look at me like that. I said it. I own it.
My board's better
that were able to really pull this off, right? And had a lot of people that doubted whether we were going to be able to do this or not. And maintain and continue to maintain control over it. And it's how we want it for us, by us. And it'll remain that way. So it's really exciting.
That's amazing. I can't wait to visit one day.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It'll bring you back to Cleveland. You'll be that excited.
Mr. Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
Your career with the city of Cleveland is like a study in, I don't know, like and both of you, in my experience with you, in not that long of a time, have used each position as a stepping stone to get to the next, and you're not afraid to step out and do something different and expand your horizons. And I love that about you. So Tony, tell us a little bit about how you got started with the city of Cleveland and what you're doing now.
Okay. I've been with the city for 11 years. When I started, I was doing housing code enforcement. So from what I understood at the time, I was the first attorney that dealt with code violations on both the east and the west side at the same time, so that way I was able to try and minimize the disparity in consequences and or unfortunately sanctions that might have happened on the east side, which has been disproportionately more affected by the housing crisis than the west side of Cleveland. In that regard, I normally, whenever I could, I would push for, if someone had resolved their issue, for outright dismissal of the case versus someone to have a first-degree misdemeanor on their record. And that was the way that I approached that position that I was in it. From there, in every position thereafter, I've shifted away from the practice of law and more into management and leadership. My master's is in public administration. From there, I was in the Office of Professional Standards. So that was civilian oversight, investigation, and recommendations to the city of Cleveland's police department for officers that had violated in one regard or another a citizen's rights. And that was in the midst of the consent decree, which, as you know, we still are in, but that was very early on in 2015, 2016. I believe the 2014 was when the consent decree came. So it was a very hot and heavy time. There was a lot of moving parts going on. It was challenging, but I believed in the work and I believed in my team. And so that made the less pleasant things easier, more palatable. So from there, the director of building and housing, Ayana Donald, one of your sorors, actually pulled me in as her assistant director, director of building and housing. And there we concentrated on, again, it circled back to the housing. A lot of what I've done inadvertently became a passion point is regarding the housing stock in the city of Cleveland. There we issued permits. We unfortunately would have to do code enforcement, which is issuing of violations. We also would have to do condemnations and ultimately demolitions. So that was the work we did. My role as the assistant director, do the things the director didn't want to do. But then also really I'm really big on management and leadership, particularly the transition from management to leadership. So I just spend a lot of time trying to pour into the team and try to help them evolve, even if that meant evolving outside of our department. In my opinion, it's a leader's role to prepare your people for what's next. When the transition, when the longstanding former Mayor Jackson was leaving office, then as an assistant director, I was at the pleasure of the mayor. So I found an opportunity to be a commissioner in the Department of Public Works, where I served for 2+ years, which was a protected civil service class. And from there, my current director I.S.I Hernandez, the director of community development, our worlds collided because a lot of what my team was responsible for was the maintenance on the vacant lots that the city owns within the city of Cleveland's land bank. So from there, we had occasion to work together, and then she identified me as her co-assistant director as we were going through a large organizational change. We still are right now. And it's actually great. I have to say there's some long days, some long nights. It can drain on me sometimes, but it's the most fulfilling I've felt because I have a lot of autonomy to try new things. We just posted a RFP, a request for proposal, last week for what's known as an implementation vendor. So in short, this implementation vendor is like a construction management team. They'll be involved in onboarding contractors, assigning the work, being able to work with our team, our in-house inspector teams, to move the projects along to the point where it's complete. And now they'll be the ones working on the invoicing, which at the end of the day, what's exciting to me about it, all that mumbo jumbo I just said, is it means that we'll be able to serve the citizens of Cleveland, which are largely seniors and or people with disabilities. We'll be able to service them quicker with the grants and the loans that they've obtained for home repair and rehabilitation, and get the contractors paid in a much more expedient rate. So my director came up with the idea, but then she handed off to me and my co-assistant director. And again, to be able to post that last week is exciting. We had a lot of different positions, senior leadership positions that we're working on that will be able to be posted. So I'll be able to actually effectuate some change in people's careers as well. So it's exciting work. I really appreciate it. And again, the fact that largely the people I am working, that we as a team are working to improve their life, are people that look like us. So that's the most fulfilling part.
You talked about a lot about leadership, and it's not something that everybody feels a calling for. What motivates you to step into leadership position as opposed to just like, being I hate to say grunt, but
Sure.
like the worker bee or but some people are content to be in that role, but
Sure.
others, want to step out in front and manage people and lead people,
Was that for me specifically?
or both of you.
Mhm.
I think for me, I enjoy developing people, right? I enjoy being able to watch a person realize their potential. I think that and help them get to wherever they want to get. I feel that a lot of times in my career trajectory that was missing or absent, right? I didn't have someone that kind of um gave me that ability, especially early on, to feel like I can turn to them for um, questions and, mentorship and things like that. And so I love being able to be that person for someone else. And especially, we talk a lot about people of color and we talk about the importance that is to have someone that looks like you to be front and center that you can call on. But it's super important. And so being a double minority, a Latina, minority female, that has me that puts me in a unique position to be able to do that, to be representative. And again, it's just being able to it for me, it only took one or two people to believe that I could do it. Right. And so if I can give that to someone else and be that person to someone else, it's what I love to be. And I think that it's just that simple.
Mhm.
I was sitting there trying to think through a concise answer, and I don't know if there is one. I mean, sometimes it's a calling. Sometimes you see an inefficiency that you want to improve, and not necessarily talking about a person, but a program or project.
Sure.
Um, it's about pouring into people, like Carmen said. I mean, it's kind of all of those things. It's all of those things. And sometimes you don't choose it, right? Sometimes it chooses you. And you just find yourself in a position, even as the grunt,
Yeah.
where and I can appreciate this from my military experience, that you just see something and you just have to address it right then and there because there's consequences if it's not done. Um, and that consequence could be I mean, literally could be someone's health or livelihood. So it really isn't an easy answer. I just think it's a calling. It's a calling. Sometimes it's to your detriment. There's times where she's looking at me and I'm on my computer at 11 o'clock at night and it's not even the work. It's not the 9 to 5. It's something with Zeta Omega Foundation, or it's something with BPACF. It's I.S.I. It's the various different entities that I touch, and it just has to be done. It's really that simple. It just has to be done.
Mhm.
Tell us more about ICI. I mean, it's ISI, right?
It's I.S.I. Yep.
Tell us more about ISI Consulting.
So I.S.I. consulting is derived from one of my favorite scriptures, Proverbs 27:17, and that says, "Iron sharpens iron, so shall a man sharpen the countenance of his friend."
Mm.
And that's the whole purpose for me in the consulting practice, in that I'm fortunate to have a certain level of information that I've developed from whatever capacity, be it formal education, be it military, the 9 to 5, whatever. And to be able to share that with other small business owners and with other nonprofits that are seeking to make a difference in their respective communities. I mean, it's a blessing. So I don't spend in full transparency, I don't spend as much time with it as I would like because of the wealth of things we're doing, but it's also something that has been a just an ongoing passion from when I was first practicing law in 2012 as a solo practitioner, because I found myself connecting the dots for people more, providing education and guidance as much, if not more sometimes, than actual legal advice and or actions. So it was just natural and organic. But whenever I do have opportunities to be able to work with clients, dealing with formation issues, compliance issues, succession planning, planning for what's next in their business, whether it's to grow it, whether it's to morph it into something else, or unfortunately, if it's time to dissolve it for whatever respective reason. The teaching part I enjoy. I love working with boards, helping them understand their bylaws, their governance responsibilities, recruitments for their board, and really trying to stay focused on what is the mission, what's our strengths, what's our weaknesses, strategic planning processes, if that's what it's saying. I really just love doing that because I know that none of us individually can effectuate the change that we want to see. But if we're all in a wealth of varied spots to be able to grow the service that we give to our community, again, primarily people that look like us, then it's fulfilling. It can be draining. It can be draining. I was just working on something before we got on this call on a Sunday afternoon uh, for foundation and for the chapter, but being able to hit send and know that it'll effectuate greater levels of program,
Mhm.
greater partnerships, financial resources, grants, donations, in-kind contributions, knowing that I'm able to do that and it makes a difference in someone's life. I mean, it just has to be done, kind of harkening back to your question about leadership.
And that's
Not,
part
if
of the
not us, who
value.
will?
Right.
If not us, who will? And I'm
Yeah.
sorry to cut you off.
No,
You were
I was
saying.
just gonna say that's part of the value of community service
Mhm.
Mhm.
is the feeling you get that you are making a contribution and making a difference and implementing some positive changes. So I applaud you both for all of the work that you're doing. It's admirable. And we all have a lot of different ways that we can spend our time. So when we dedicate ourselves to giving back, it's important. It's needed.
Absolutely.
There's this new thing that we were gonna try collectively called sleep, but we just haven't got around to it yet. Yeah, we're pretty excited to try that. We've
One
heard
day.
great things about it.
One day.
Yeah, yeah.
One
Seems
day you sleep.
it's all the rage.
Yeah. What do they say? I can sleep when I'm dead.
Right. Right. It's
Yeah.
about right.
We do as much as we can while we're here
Yes,
Absolutely.
ma'am.
to
Yes,
make
ma'am.
an impact.
Mhm.
So what is next for you both? Have you thought about what some of the is there anything that you have in your own plan for yourselves that you know, could see coming next? Like, I could think of books, podcasts,
Mhm.
um, speaking tours, anything like that coming down the pipeline for you.
Um, I think for me, if we had to have like a what's next, being that a lot of things that are happening in my career and in my personal life are relatively new, right? And so scaling the business and being able to um attract and retain some more, people of color, right? And have that talent as part of the firm is definitely a what's next for me. It's front and center of, building a practice. I think that I love to be able to continue to leave a footprint in the community, right? Continue to uh, provide civic service and give back to the community and it's specifically to the things that I'm passionate about. Hoping to streamline that a little bit because sometimes I want to do all kinds of things because I see all kinds of things that can be helpful to the community. So I hope to be able to streamline that and be able to maybe narrow down the focus a little bit. But one of the big things that Tony and I have been talking about is really bridging the gap between the African American, the Black community, and the Latino community. I think that we are powerhouses in our own rights, and I think bridging that gap a little bit more and become collaborate more, join forces more. I think that that is one of the biggest goals that I have for moving forward, is to be able to merge our worlds and our communities a little bit better so that we can just show how great we are together, because we're better together.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's I think that's my what's next.
Okay.
I think for me, it's just work right now. As I mentioned earlier, we're in the midst of a large transition or organizational structure, and I'm all bought in. Like I'm not a yes man for the city. I can be very oppositional, but I said I believe in what we're doing, and I believe that the next 6 months are very crucial for us to get to where we're trying to be. So I'm really heavily invested in what goes on in my 9 to 5, admittedly to the detriment of my own business practice. And then also wanting to be there to support Carmen while she's getting hers off the ground. So for me, it's primarily to get 9 to 5 where it needs to be in the next 6 months. And then there's some key staffing, as I mentioned. Once those people are in place, then I can be more like an assistant director and be more about policy, procedure, and the public versus having to serve as a manager or a commissioner or a grunt, as you mentioned. But personally, the shameless plug warning coming up, the work we've done with the Zeta Omega Foundation and the work we'll continue to do is extremely important to me. When I was the chapter bossless or president, we created this foundation again to identify more proactive mechanisms of finding funding. So that's why we set it up as a 501c3. So just recently, we were awarded a substantial grant from Cuyahoga County Council for our food basket giveaway that we do every year. Right now, if you go on our website, www.zetaomegafoundation.com, shameless plug.
I was going to ask you that anyway. It's okay.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. We just created a scholarship trunk initiative. It's an inaugural year called Tools for Our Student Success. And that trunk will provide, it'll be a literal trunk, will provide students with a laptop or tablet loaded with Microsoft applications, a book stipend, and various comfort items. Some of it will be tongue in cheek, like a crap load of ramen noodles, but some of it'll be very essential comfort items that we've all navigated through. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. We've identified a location and we're trying to navigate approval to use that, as well as solidifying a date. So because that isn't in place yet, I don't want to mention it. But that's very important to be able to raise these funds and to be able to impact first generation kids that look like us here in greater Cleveland area. So I'm really passionate about that. And then just and not to the detriment of the other boards I serve on, BPACF and obviously NAACP both have longstanding traditions here in the city of Cleveland, and I'm honored to be a part of them. But the foundation was mine and the administration's brainchild. So I'm very passionate about that. So again, the next 6 months, a lot of things are in play in those two spaces. And somewhere in the midst of all that, I'll finish a book that I've been writing for an egregious amount of years.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah. I mean, because it ties in, it's really about the kids. I don't want to speak on it too much because I feel like that's kind of jinxing it. Yeah, I'll just leave it like that. But it ties into the students as well, and it's something that it won't be done and in production by the time this trunk scholarship goes into play, but next year I'm already speaking into existence. My book will be in there with the students as well.
Dawn, I love it.
Yeah.
Has either of you thought about running for office?
Well, well,
I
wait,
think our
you do
Zoom limit has expired now. I think it's like, what, 20 seconds
no
left?
freeze.
I mean, it's a valid question.
It is a valid
Yeah.
question.
Mhm.
I can say that no, that's not been a thought for me.
It was at one time.
I no,
It was
it was
it.
only it was just a joke.
Oh,
No.
oh.
Not
Serious.
no, it is not. I mean, it's just isn't something that I aspire to do or to be when I grow up. I admire the folks that are in those positions and seats now. I don't know. I feel like my skill set and my heart is more kind of boots on the ground, day to day versus the bigger picture, I think.
I have nothing but respect for those that choose that path. One of my fraternity brothers right now, who's an attorney, we shared office space. He was very influential when I first started practicing as running for judge, Daryl Denny here in city of Cleveland. And so I'll do whatever I can to support him, obviously staying within ethical bounds, but obviously. But no, it's just not something that I'm interested in. I don't want to go through the hazing that is campaigning. Um, and I feel in some ways, the beauty of being over 50 is you say things that you maybe shouldn't. So I think in many ways, I find it restrictive.
Mhm.
Um,
I can see that. Yeah.
and yeah, in many ways, it's restrictive. I deal with our city council on a regular basis. I respect them. We have good working relationships. I appreciate their passion for their respective wards. The city of Cleveland has 17 wards, so there's 17 city council people. And I respect that they're in a position to be the elected voice for their citizenry. But to get things done, you call us.
Mhm.
We in that regard, if you want to
Mhm.
talk about, grunts and generals, we're the grunts in that we get it done. And it is, to be clear, it is in collaboration. But yeah, in that regard, I'd rather be the grunt getting the thing done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Totally
And it's
fair.
just the haze of campaign. It just looks painful.
Yeah, once you're in office, unless you have an office that if your term lasts for
Mhm.
maybe 4 to 6 years or something kind of lengthy where you can really get in there and dig in, it's like you got to turn around and start campaigning again.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. It's just a lot.
It
yeah,
sounds tough.
I'm politics adjacent enough where I am. There could be roles that might present themselves in the course of the next 30, 50 years. Well, not 50, Lord, the next 30, 40 years that might be more politically adjacent than where I am now, but I just don't have any enthusiasm about affixing my name to someone's ballot and then having to go attract voters to it. I'll leave that for more qualified people.
Okay. Give me a few things that you each love about Cleveland.
Um, So for me, I mean, I think professionally, what I really love about Cleveland is we have a group of Black and Brown attorneys and judges that really, really stick together, right? We
Mm.
really call on each other and we've become friends, colleagues and friends. And I really love having that network of people in my corner because I know that I can trust them to be available and to answer my calls and vice versa. I really do love that about Cleveland. And then I just, we joke around as to people ask us, are you ever going to leave Cleveland, move somewhere else, practice somewhere else? And for me, I love everything about being in Cleveland. And maybe it's because I've been here all my whole life and don't know any better. And there's probably some truth to that. But professionally, I would say it's just a group of Black and brown judges and attorneys and colleagues that we really became friends with and can call on a regular basis.
I just think we're a resilient group. We are. I mean, the mistake by the lake, when the lake caught on fire in 72, that's still a running joke. It's actually unfortunately funny, but it's also, it was accurate. The Browns. There are no greater fans in the NFL than the Cleveland Browns. And that's who we are, right? That's that level of loyalty, that level of resiliency, that level of we're gonna ride with you, and then when the door closes, we're gonna beat the living crap out of you, but we're gonna stand in front of you. We're gonna catch the shots that are coming your way, and then we're gonna work together to resolve it. That's Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
That's Cleveland. That's not to suggest other places don't have that, but it's just the working ethic. We were also one of the various steel towns here in the Northeast hemisphere of the United States. And we, like others, I have to give a reluctant shout out to Michigan and Pennsylvania. It's just that worker attitude.
Yeah.
And just that blue collar mentality, that salt of the earth guy and gal, if you would. That's Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Polish boys, Slimans. Just all those things, Mr. Heroes.
Sweet to say, even sweet to say. Sure.
Yes, true.
Sure. It's just, that's
My
Cleveland.
kids are like, what's that?
I didn't know it was a Cleveland only thing until I was in the military, and I'm sitting there looking for stuff for Sweetest Day. And I'm like, what are we talking about? So I was like, Sweetest Day. I'm thinking that there's something special about them. No, I was the special one.
Whole time.
Yeah, it was me. It was me. But no, it's just who we are. We are salt of the earth kind of people, and we really just rock with each other, and that's Cleveland. And I've had the advantage of leaving. I left and came back. I thought I was going to leave again, but then I realized I'm in a good spot. So
Good.
yeah.
That's awesome. Where can people get in touch with you?
I don't know why I keep looking at you.
I don't know, right?
You're the one with all the words. So www.sarringhausscottlaw.com or 440-775-1471 is the office number for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm being very intentional about increasing my social media presence. So I'm actively posting on LinkedIn under Anthony Scott. Instagram for I.S.I. Consulting LLC, as well as the Zeta Omega Foundation, are both on Instagram and LinkedIn separately as well. The foundation, again, www.zetaomegafoundation.com. And for I.S.I, www.isiconsultingllc.com. And pretty much all of those connect in one regard or another to me personally. So any of those platforms, you can reach out.
Well, great. I just want to say thank you for joining me today and providing your insight into so many things, especially leadership and giving back to the community. Cleveland is lucky to have you both.
Thank you.
Can you tell Cleveland that, please? And surrounding suburbs. Tell them.
Yes, Greater Cleveland, Northeast Ohio.
Yes.
We'll put it that way.
Yes. Let them all know. No, thank you for having us. It's an honor to be on the show.
Thanks.
It's been a year in the making almost since I first asked you join me. So I'm
I think
glad
it
that
has.
your schedules have finally cleared enough for us to talk.
I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was that long ago.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It really has. I asked you in March. It's okay.
Hey. Sorry.
She's like, I'm gonna stop asking them after this.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's
We
okay.
love you.
Had a lot going on. Love you too.
Charge it
Yes.
to our heads and not our hearts.
Yes,
Of
definitely.
course.
And
I
thank you
know.
for all the great stuff that you're putting out and just bringing it front and center. People from Cleveland are dope, and bringing awareness to all the things that are happening out here in Cleveland.
We know you got merchandising for the t-shirt and the hat as well. You have hoodies.
Yes,
Oh,
hoodies and t-shirts and hats. There's a
okay.
mug as well.
Well, then we will be placing our order for hoodies so that way, once we do air, then you can link into the photos showing that we have bought the merchandise.
That's
All
right.
right. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Erica.
Thanks again.
See you
Bye.
guys.
See you today. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.